project, which is so fun. So for those of you in 5th grade, you've had some experience with Zentangle, so you are veterans at this and you're gonna have an awesome time sort of creating something a little bit different, a little bit of a twist on what you've done in the past. And for 4th graders, one of your big projects this year is going to be a Zentangle project. So this is a fabulous little project to kind of get you ready for that and get you some practice as well. So I'm going to walk you through these steps, but let's first talk about materials. You'll need some white paper, just plain white paper. It doesn't have to be super thick, it can just be normal white paper, and I used an 8.5 by 11 or a 9 by 12 sheet of paper, so that's the standard size. You'll need a fine point Sharpie, and you'll need a ultra fine point Sharpie, and you'll need markers or color pencils, and you may or may not need a ruler. It really depends on how good you are at making straight lines without needing a ruler. So I didn't use a ruler, but please use a ruler in order to create this, okay? Because we really want that craftsmanship on this project to be excellent, because that's what makes it look so cool. Okay, so you're going to begin by taking your thicker Sharpie, and it's okay if you need to do this part in pencil, it's fine with me, and then to go over it with Sharpie. But then when you start drawing your Zentangles, I want you to go straight to your skinny Sharpie, okay? And on the post for the assignment on Seesaw, I'm going to upload a bunch of photographs, a bunch of printouts of different Zentangle sheets that you can use as resource material. So it can be a combination of things from your own head in addition to Zentangle patterns that are on the sheets that I'm gonna make sure that you get. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're essentially going to do a continuous line doodle that creates loops and shapes within that sort of continuous line. So just watch me. I mean, you can try to follow me if you want to, but to be honest, this is kind of one of those things where it's totally fine for all of our stuff to look different. But you see how I'm not lifting up my pencil at all? And I'm sort of doing this continuous thing and allowing myself to overlap things. Once you've done that, and it's okay to pause right now and to do this the way you want to do it before you move on. So pause if you need to. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at all the spaces that have been created by doing this overlapping continuous line doodle, okay? And what we're looking for here is we are looking to see where there is a shape or a shape and size that makes sense for one pattern. So this is kind of a closed area, this section right here. But then when I move over to this one, it goes all the way over here. And I don't want the same pattern all that time. So then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create closed sections that connect with the continuous line that we already had here, okay? So for example, if I were to go on this line again and then just extend it out to the end of the page, now I have this space that can be one pattern. Does that make sense? Then I'm gonna look over here, and this is still quite large for one thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and go onto one of these sections that I've already done and do a continuous all the way to the edge of the paper. And then all the rest are smaller significantly, okay? Then I'm gonna start making decisions about where I wanna add my lines in comparison to where I'm gonna add patterns, okay? So if you look at this, I'm really trying to make sure that there's a pattern next to the line design, pattern next to the line design. And so what happens is while you're working, you're thinking about, oh, do I need to make an additional shape in one area so that I can create a pattern next to lines? So let me show you what I'm talking about in case you're confused. So I'm gonna go ahead and decide that this section here is going to be lines, just straight up lines. Remember, use a ruler, and this is, I'm using my skinny, my ultra fine Sharpie, or if you have like a black gel pen or something like that, that would be fine. It does need to be something that doesn't run, so something permanent, because when you go in here with your markers, if that's what you end up using, it will smear and bleed into the black. Will just make everything look really dirty. So this is where you could have like a small ruler and you could literally just go boom, 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 okay? But Ms. Jenkins doesn't need to do that, but you know, my lines are still not perfectly straight, but they're straight enough to me, so that's okay. But that's because I've had years of training, okay? So now I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, so this is in the center between these two areas, which means I'll do a pattern here and I'll do a pattern here, and then my lines will be here, okay? So that being said, my next area that I would do lines would be this section, because it's not even touching this area, but it is going to be next to an area that has a pattern, okay? So then I would do lines up and down or left to right. You can do different directions, you can do diagonal, but I think the closeness of the line and sort of the overall crispness and sort of minimalist style that's happening when you do the lines is pretty sweet looking next to the patterns, especially since we go in and we actually color those, but we leave the rest black and we leave everything else black and white. That makes it really kind of fun to look at and interesting to follow. And the main concept that, well, a couple of concepts that you're really following when you're doing this project is we're looking at movement, and movement is happening because when we do that original continuous doodle line, it is causing us to move our hand along the paper, which then leads our eye to do the same and to follow that path that you created with your marker. So movement is one thing. Another element that we're focusing on in here is color theory. And then the other thing is going to be variety, right? So patterns, shapes, of variety of those things. Okay, so we've decided, and I'm going to go ahead and just grab a pencil real quick because I can go ahead and start to mark the areas that I'm going to do a Zentangle in with P for pattern. So P for pattern. And then, okay, so looking down here, I can see that this is going to bleed into this for pattern, even though it's just this little area. But what I can do is I can go ahead and create a little small section there, and that would tell me that this is going to be lines and this is patterns, lines, lines, what else? Pattern, lines, and lines, and pattern, and pattern, and it's okay if it's touching a little bit, but if that bugs you, you can just come in here and you can do that. You see how I'm doing that to create spaces, a pattern of sort of line and pattern. So pattern, line, and pattern. Okay, do you see how that worked out? So now you know where you're going to put your lines, and then you know where you're going to put your patterns, okay? So I'm going to do a few more areas with just the lines, and again, you can move those lines in different directions, but you want to stay consistent. So if you're going horizontally, keep repeating in a horizontal fashion as much as possible, because again, that's what makes sort of the illusion and the combination of the two ideas so interesting to look at and examine. And you, my friends, are not going to go as fast as me. You might go as fast as me if you're using the ruler, but you take your time. And because this is a video, you can just pause and go back if you need to, or pause and work on something and then come back and catch up with me, okay? So there's some lines there. So then the next thing you're gonna do is, once you've completed all your line sections, you can start doing different Zentangle patterns within areas. And this is completely your choice what you do. Like I said, I'm going to be putting some worksheets on your assignment that you can print out or that you can just look on the computer at And in addition to that, guys, you can just Google or go to Pinterest and just put in Zentangle, and that's Zentangle, and there is a plethora of things that you can use to help you in your work, like to resource material. So you can see all the various examples that I've got here. I've got things that are, organic and floral, and things that include some geometric design plus organic design. I've added details within sections, so you can just make decisions. I'm going to do a couple of patterns with you, and you can do these with me if you'd like, or you can just get started and do your own, okay? So for this one here, I'm going to go ahead and do this sort of curved, almost petal-like shape, and I'm going to follow that all the way across here. And notice I'm using my ultra-fine Sharpie. And then as I move up, as I keep going, I'm going to use this section that's here to create the tops of the petals on the next row, so that it's now connected. You see how that's connecting? Because this becomes the bottom of the shape, and this becomes the top. So here we go. And I'm going to keep going and essentially repeat. And it's okay if things start to get more narrow, because what is our shape doing? It's getting more narrow. It's eventually going to a top section that is tapered. And I'm just going to keep going. Again, I'm still maintaining the same theme, but it is adjusting as needed according to the space. And the fact that it's going from sort of bigger to smaller, it creates movement as well, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so I've got that. Can I do more with that? Can I add something within that space to even create more levels of interest? Absolutely. So I'm going to go in here and repeat the shape within. Now I'm not going to be able to do that twice on the small ones. I might not even be able to do it once on the small ones, but can I do something that at least kind of works with or is in balance with what I've already got here? Yep, you can. A lot of Zentangling is intuition, and that's where, if you know what intuition means, it just means that you kind of feel like you want to try something feels right to you, and so it becomes intuitive for you. You just think it's the right thing to do or the right move to make, and that's what sometimes art is about. It's a level of intuition in addition to skill and practice. But when it comes to Zentangling, it is a lot of intuition. And a lot of what you do for a first step help determine what you do next, because you're using what's already there to inspire your next move, your next sketch, your next line that you create. So I was just simply using, for this, I'm just using the shape that's already present to repeat, and it's looking pretty cool. Okay, so I'm going to finish this one with you guys and maybe do one more, and then I'm going to let you work on your own. Hopefully you've already gotten started. Okay. Zentangling is so relaxing. So I highly recommend it whenever you're feeling stressed, whenever you feel like you just need something to help you wind down. It's really relaxing because you just kind of get lost in the art and you just kind of don't think about anything else. You're just kind of really engrossed in simply creating something and just the process of moving your tool around. So now as I get to these little tiny ones, I'm just adding maybe a line or two if it works. Okay, so there's one pattern there for you. Let me do one more over here in this little section, and then I'm going to let you work on your own. So I'm going to do this sort of partial flower thing. I really like to do this, this pattern, so let's see. I'm going to start here. I'm going to curve like that, like think about this as a petal. And then you follow your line and you come back and you meet it again. And you follow that line and you meet it again. And you follow that line and you meet it again. And again. And one more time. And I like to do, you know, little details within the petal-like things. And then I like to do this where I sort of enclose it all, and then I can start again with a new one. So, and I can go this way this time. So I follow this line and I follow it back in, go out, bring it back in, go out, bring it back in, go out, bring it back in. You guys hear that train? I live by train tracks, so every once in a while the train comes by and I've gotten used to it, but I wonder what it sounds like to others in the background. All right, so let's see, I'm gonna do one more over here. Okay, down, follow it out, follow it out, follow it out, and repeat around it. Add my little detail within, and I am done with that space there. So when you're done, you'll have, let's say, most of it, I only have 3 sections that I've left white, and I did that on purpose because I think your eyes sometimes need resting space, so it's important for you to have spaces that are open and clean so that then you can easily examine other sections nearby. So you want to have mostly colored stripes with patterns in between, and then a few white spaces kind of trickled throughout. And for the coloring, you definitely want to make sure you are using skinny markers or skinny colored pencils that are sharpened pretty well. And you can see here that I've done sort of different things with my color. For a few sections, I did in order of the rainbow or in order of the color wheel. For some sections, I did monochromatic, which just means I used green and I did shades and tints of green. For here, I just did cool colors, so blues and greens. For here, I did orange and blue, which is complementary colors. Here, I did colors that sit next to each other on the color wheel. Here, I did warm colors. Here, again, I did cool colors. Here, I did 3 colors that sit next to each other on the color wheel again. So I have some variety, and then pink and green, which would be complements as well. So you want to make sure that you have variety and that you've got some fun and interesting things happening, and take your time. This is not something you can finish really quickly, but you've got a week to do it. So enjoy yourself, relax, and invite mom and dad to do it with you. It's very relaxing, parents, very relaxing. All right, I hope you enjoy this, and I can't wait to see what you do. See you guys soon. Bye.